Hello and welcome. I am the Restless Kaiser.
Oh, he's muted. I can't hear him. I'm James
Pro.
And I am Johnny B.
I'm continue to be James Workshop. And who's this guy?
Hello, I'm Max. I'm from the enemy of James Workshop.
But together we are
modeling for advantage.
Sorry guys, I muted myself as one was blowing one's nose and it was rather noisy. Apologies.
Good evening,
Let's
everyone. I'm going to whiz through the comments. If you've not been here before, I will often, while other people are chatting, I will be like miming responses to comments, which is sometimes I make an amusing laugh at a really inappropriate moment for what someone else is saying.
Yes,
something to look forward to. Max is going to introduce himself in a moment, but can we just to say we do have a giveaway tonight. We're giving away the bolt action British infantry sprue. More on that later, though. Quick round of table then. What are you doing tonight? I am still working on my SPQR Celts. I'm going to try and get some paint on them tonight, but I think I might be busy. John.
Nice. I am also working on Kaiser's SPQR Celts in the form of his boss man. So I'm going to try and get that done and some other things. Mr. Workshop?
I am working on, so I'm quite content with where my Germans are at for bolt action. So I am now working on my Soviets, my true love.
Nice.
Max, what are you working on?
I'm working on Polish Vistula Legion at the moment for black powder. I have never played black powder in my life, but I love the models, and I've got about probably 120 French painted already. One day I'll get a game.
Beautiful.
120.
Apparently,
beginning.
Yeah, I've got a brigade now.
There you go. Anyway, I said apparently the French are like ultramarines.
Oh, right. I've heard that on another show.
Yeah.
So, John, you've disappeared, mate.
Don't you worry. You carry on. You carry on.
But it's your moment. It's your thing.
It is.
Is it? Okay.
This is what a rookie spirit.
Where's this?
It's all right. You haven't got
It's
there
what
yet.
everyone's here for,
You
frankly.
go through the comments and you do your stuff.
Yeah.
Which you haven't done yet, and then it gets to me. So it's not my moment yet.
No, I'm going to go through the comments while you do this.
Okay. So, Mr. Max, again, assume an Austrian accent. Who's your daddy, and what does he do?
So I'm Max. I work for Warlord Games. I do customer service for the company. I also do the Twitch with my colleague Marcus every Monday. So basically, we talk to the community, we show off cool projects, we do battle reports, which is great because it's on the company dime. Not many people can say that, and yeah, it's really fun. I've been working there for about 2 years now. So if you ever called up or emailed in, there's a good chance we've already said hello. So hello to everyone if you watch the Twitch. It's nice to see you all again. It was only yesterday that I was live then.
Awesome.
So there we go. That's Max. So the last couple of Twitches streams, just going some to the comments. Last couple of Twitches. Last week you had Drakinifel on, who has agreed to come on our show as well. He's like,
hey, very nice.
Like a naval warfare mega man. He does all the ships.
The library that lives within that man's head is incredible.
Absolutely. But yesterday you had Alessio on.
Yeah, some people should have heard of him.
yeah, probably talking a little bit about bolt action. So, for those of us that haven't had a chance to watch it yet, I haven't seen it yet. It's on my to-do list. Give us the lowdown. What did Alessio have to say, mate?
So a little bit of context. We had Alessio on at the end of last month, and there was a comment that Alessio made. We were asking him what's some of your tenets of game design, things that you always kind of look for. And he said that he likes simplifications in games where it's possible. If you can streamline a game, streamline it. He brought the hypothetical of when he worked on Warhammer 40,000, they took out hit modifiers and brought in the cover save. Some people interpreted that as that's coming for bolt action version 3, which if they're talking about it must be around the corner. And there was a collective meltdown. So we thought we'll have Alessio on again and clear the air, which is always nice to have.
Not happening, yeah.
Not yet. We don't know what form it will take. We still get to choose the form of our destructor there. So I thought if we've got him on for the whole hour-and-a-half stream, we might as well open it up to something else, because I think, you know, that little disclaimer is not going to take much time at all. So we thought, if we're talking about new bolt action rules, what would the community like to see? So there was a couple things. Biggest one was multi-launchers, machine guns, quite a lot of opinions on tanks. Heavy tanks came up, and just generally get a game designer's eye on why certain things were changed between V1 and 2, just in general why we might not do something when a suggestion was brought up, and also a chance for the community to kind of say, in future, we'd really like to see this. You know, more shots for machine guns, more viability on heavy tanks. Yes, and a few other things, and taking multi-launchers and throwing them in the bin. No, that's just me, and a few other things. So it was nice to have him on, and, you know, really pick his brains and get into the nitty-gritty of why some things are the way they are.
That famous World War II Soviet formation, which is 12 inexperienced idiots with half a rifle between them, a Katushka, and a couple of other blokes just to pad out the points.
Oh, yes.
I remember that formation, yeah.
Katusha at knife fighting range.
What? It's an interesting one. Because he's brought it up, Subcommandante 73. I mean, I should say in advance, Max just works at Warlord. He doesn't know all the things, and there's probably limits on what he can say, but we're going to try and ask him all the things you ask. But we did say that he's allowed to peace out, you know what I mean? If we're putting him on the spot, or they won't come back. So Subcommandante 73 said, we're going to get some more bombers for Blood Red Skies.
So I can't officially confirm it, but Derek from Studio has a lot of 111s on his desk, and enough that he can convert one into the Zwilling. Draw your own conclusions. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. They might be coming soon.
Wow.
Okay. Todd from Wardrobe Plays World War II, J Bizzle, wants to know if you're changing your clothes. Were you doing something when we started?
I was just readjusting my, you know, piece.
Readjusting your piece. Well, let's make that sound as uncomfortable as it can.
Make sure we don't go peace out
during this.
Throw the wall a bit. There you go. Todd reckons you're doing great videos, and he's a pro YouTuber, so he should know. Johnny's cow is being shot by the plane in the background. Behind your head, John.
Yeah.
Oh, mate. It's a giant cow, though. It needs taking down.
109 versus the giant cow. Naturally. I saw it in a documentary, so I tried to recreate it.
Oh, yeah, the documentary Twister, right?
Yes. Yes. Actually.
Matt Capelli using one of our emoji, which sadly don't come through on this. I need to see if we can get that. I know, boo, right? They do what they should do on the YouTube stream.
Oh, yeah, I got the YouTube on the side there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for members, if you enjoy the show and you like what we do, of course, you can consider becoming a member. You get access to the emojis for as little as £1.99, and the membership fee, you get access to videos before they're released. There we go. That was that done. Should we talk about this then? Should we talk about this?
Yes.
New British infantry sprue. For those that have not seen it, I've done the unboxing of the 1943 to 45 British and Canadian Army. That'll come out on Friday. Hopefully members will get access to it tomorrow night. John did a little bit of a review of just the infantry sprue, and I did the whole box. I was going to give him the whole box, but the rate at which he paints, it's just a waste of money. So I've given him a sprue. Said, if I ever see those guys on the table, you can have another one.
Good. Drip fed.
Right, so I'll make it big if anyone's not seen it, I guess. This is going to kind of ruin Friday's video a little bit, but the best thing about these, I think, you can see it, is that all the pouches and stuff are molded on. I really like that, all of that stuff, because I found I was making some of the Russians. I don't know whether you've had that, James. The pouches are quite fiddly on the Russians with certain models, trying to get them in and their arms and then get their pack and their rifle in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've built newer kits and older kits now, I come from a time when I was building plastic kits back when Alessio was still working for them, so I'm quite comfortable with it, and I quite like having all the adjustment that you can do. But something like the Germans, where I was just sort of banging them together in order to play some games, I was quite happy that I didn't have to go hand and then rifle and then piece of rifle for every model that I was building.
And realise that that's a rifle arm, not an SMG arm. Have to pull it off or change the gun.
But having to refer to the instructions every 14 seconds in order to not get something wrong.
About half of the weapon kits on here is both arms and the rifle, and the other half have got the weapon and the arm molded in. The other interesting design feature, which you didn't realize, again, I'm really ruining the video, is the heads and the helmets are separate. The helmets are all socketed, so you can switch, you know, pick your head, pick your helmet. And then, in case if you haven't noticed, the Scotch bonnets, oh, so
the Tamo outfits,
Tamashanka, mate. Tamashanka, I think that's what it's called.
Tamagotchis.
Tamagotchi, they're already dead. Anyone who's still got a living Tamagotchi clearly spends their life in an asylum. So, going back to them, we need to decide what people need to say if they wish to express a desire to win. Names will go on a slip. We'll be doing a draw tonight. If you want to win this bolt action British infantry sprue, what do you reckon they should say, John? What's the key word?
I don't know.
Get them to say plastic Finnish infantry.
That one sounded good.
Plastic fins is the key word, and then we can forward that onto Warlord and say, look, there's a lot of interest in this.
There is. There's so many comments that have plastic fins in.
Plastic fins.
You know, V for victory, right? That's the thing.
We've already decided, John. We can't change. We get confused. It's plastic fins.
I thought that was plastic fin.
No. Nice to see Warlord stocking up on the cyberpunk models. Yeah, I wasn't sure whether that was a dead range.
Yeah, that one kind of came as a surprise to us as well. Just one day it came from high up.
Right,
We're stocking these. Is it nice?
You are?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware,
website if you need me.
We've got exclusivity, I think, in Europe. I don't know if it's mainland Europe as well. Something, the word that shall not be named with B. I don't know if that's got involved in it, but I know we've got some exclusivity on the rights to that one. And yeah, they just kind of popped up one day and in the studio. Yeah, we're selling these. Cool. Wow. And obviously they got their injection molded resin. I think it's injection molded, some sort of resin pre-paint scenery. Gaming mats. Everyone loves a gaming mat.
That's right.
What, like mouse mat gaming mats?
I believe so, yeah. These ones, they're double-sided. So they got on one side, it's like an arid desert, and on the other side, it's like a North European grass mat. So they've recently came in as well.
Yeah, I mean, we like that Northern European grass, don't we, John?
Oh, love it.
Matt Pelly, I'm working on my Soviets, and I'm not going to lie, I'm very happy not to have to paint a whole lot of pouches while we're time when the guy is going to get blown away sooner or later.
It's true. A lot of these don't have pouches. I just didn't bother.
I think
wouldn't have an issue with them anyway.
So, like for the maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but I thought like the DP ammo pouch was like socketed onto the rifle ammo pouch, and so in many of the poses where they were crouching, it didn't quite work. Plastic fins win, says Matt Capelli.
Are all these other ones going to count towards it? Like, you know, plastic 17th century Polish infantry. Is that
No. Plastic Italians over there pouting. Ooh.
Yeah. Just check it.
So the fins is something that I'd be interested in doing in the future. I think maybe some Eastern Bloc stuff, the Latvians, because my wife's Latvian. I'd probably be interested in looking into that a little more, because I normally start from like a historic aspect and then work towards the models, and then end up finding something broken and play that anyway. So that tends to be my technique. But so is anybody else interested in anything in the near future that, you know, now we've got someone here from Warlord, we might be able to shunt towards.
Oh, right. If we
nudge the release schedule. I mean, Matt, is there anything that you've been authorized to tell us tonight? You can just cut to the chase, right?
I'm afraid not. No goodies. That one is the standard. Check the newsletter, follow the Facebook on that one.
Well,
but what would you like to play? You don't have to tell us what could happen.
I mean, I'm odd. I wouldn't mind Romanians, to be honest. I like an underdog. Yeah, it doesn't have to be plastic. I'd like a Romanian range. I'd buy that.
Okay. Let me take notes. So plastic T38T is coming.
Nobody wants that. I'd like plastic Italians. I would do Africa Corps. So I think some plastic Desert Friends would help there. Because I really love our Africa Corps kit. That's one of my favorite kits to put together. That just, puts itself together, put the paint on, done. We were talking about the Soviets when, the separate arms. I think the Africa Corps are the complete polar opposite. They just work. So I absolutely adore those.
Were they the first ones to sort of change up in style of kit, from separate arms to the combined arms? I'm not too sure.
I believe it was actually the Blitzkrieg and the Japanese started the trend, but they weren't exclusively hands-on rifles. They were like a hybrid. So like half the arms were pre-attached, but you might have different options if it was an MG42 or like a MP40. So like the less common guns were interchangeable. And I believe that was the Japanese and the Blitzkrieg that started that trend, and it's got more and more until now. Almost all the arms on a kit, except for basically your NCO arms, have a gun, which, slightly down on the conversion opportunities, but way more convenient. How are you supposed to tell he's the sergeant?
It's the happy medium, though, at the moment, isn't it? You're not, as James was saying, you're not spending hours and hours on dude bros trying to put the arms together, and as you said, finding out that you've actually put an SMG arm on. That was painful. So it's a nice happy medium at the moment where there's still enough to be able to make them look different just from the various torsos and helmets and whatnot.
I found that with the Germans, it was really easy to put together, but you could still make a story as you were going through each unit. You could still create characters.
Wow, Germans are spoiled for choice as well with 5 plastic kits these days that are all kit bashable.
You worked in customer service, right? You sell 3 Germans for every other kit combined, presumably.
I don't think it's that hard. It's not the old Space Marine ratio. But they're probably their best selling range by a comfortable bit. But I think Brits actually come in second if I remember correctly. Because I saw someone did like a whole company-wide breakdown. It's a long time ago, so I don't know if it's still current. But at the time, it was Germans, then the Brits, and we also did it by system. And Bolt Action was winning, and at the time, Black Seas was in second, and. No, like everyone loves German, not me. I play Soviets first.
Black Seas Edition. I'm going to come to that in a second. Josh Wood mentioned the Cruel Seas rules update. So there is a supplement out already, isn't there? Which has
that's Close Quarters, I believe.
Yeah, but do you mean something? Have you seen that one, Josh? Do you mean a third book? I'm not sure. For anyone that isn't clear, that's just come in and seen people yelling plastic fins or whatever, and it's just got the chip their tuppence worth in. We are giving away one of the Bolt Action British, the brand new sprue. Was it last week? It went on general release.
The first ones got sent out. So the way we usually stagger it is we go international, then internal orders. So some people might have got them at different times, but they started shipping out about a fortnight ago.
Yeah, we got the box late last week, early this week, the new Star Army. So anyway, if you wanted one of these in tonight's giveaway, you need to say plastic fins, not just plastic, whatever it is you want. And if you miss that,
of course it does.
We're not just yelling what it is that we want randomly. There is a purpose to it. So Black Seas is an interesting one for me. I assume it went really well as a product, because when you look at those models, especially, I mean, every time a company releases something that isn't on sprue in hard plastic, I just want to die a little bit inside. It's like, come on, do you not know? Surely you know by now. This is all we want. This.
Okay, I'll bear that one in mind.
I understand that you can't produce the whole range in this format. There's big upfront costs with them and so forth. But those ships, and we saw the pre-release photographs in it, hard plastic ships, and they're beautiful, but they are a beast to rig. They are really, you get to be like, oh, you can do the plasticky bit, that's lovely, and then you get the cotton out and the super glue, and you're like, you're back to being 7 years old with an airfix covered in glue. And it's like, throw it out the windows. I just 3 in the box, mate. Have another go.
I mean, I cheated on that. I had one painted up. We were supposed to be doing a great big Trafalgar battle, so everyone on staff, paint a couple ships for us. We'll get a nice big photo opportunity, get some extra people in for a show, but I think never happened because variety of reasons, got rescheduled, and then the virus, yada yada. So I painted mine. I got to rigging it, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know." I kept putting it off, procrastinating, doing anything else, and then the next day, I'm in the office, and Gabriel and our filming person, Robin, we need a ship because we were going to do the rigging tutorial today, but all the ships in studio are fully finished and they're rigged. And I'm like, you can do mine for me. so that's my recommendation.
Contact your studio and take all my ships down and tell them they can do a tutorial. Hell of a plan.
If we post them in, you'll rig them for us. Great. Okay.
We'll set up a commission service. We'll set up a whole department.
Rig the
You're making your own money there. Jeez.
I don't know what your hourly rate comes out like at that though. Third. Don't need 2 books and 4 pages. But he's hit by a torpedo and received 16 times damage. Yeah, we've not played Cruel Seas yet, actually. It's a game that we got just before we went into the first lockdown. I've painted the Germans. I passed the British over to the Blundering Bishop, and I have not seen him for a year because he's not a Facebook person, so he doesn't chat in the group, and he has a young family and commutes like I do. So we're the kind of typhoid Marys that need to stay away from one another, really. But I would have thought most things in Cruel Seas can't be hit by torpedoes. They're too shallow draft, aren't they?
Oof. That's been easy. I've never played that one. Not a once.
Now that is the thing that I want. Plastic Brian Blessed Hawkmen.
Oh, make it happen.
I do have a genuine Brian Blessed story from about it must be 12, 13 years ago now. I was at an educational conference, and as a smoker, I was one of the 3 or 4 people like outside the venue just having a quick gasper before we went in. Turns out Brian Blessed is one of these people who smokes but isn't allowed to. So he saw me and this guy I worked with, Pete, we were both at this conference. He's like, "Oh, guys, can you just sport me one, whatever?" He's like, "Jesus, this is Brian Blessed." Yes, of course, you can have cigarettes. For about 2, he practically ate the thing. You know what I mean? He was like, oh. Anyway, he was giving some kind of talk because he was up for being the chancellor of one of the big universities at the time. Okay, he's a giant of a man, even though he's about 80 at the time. And then he kind of just put his hands on each of our shoulders and he looked me squarely in the eye and he said, "Gordon's alive!" Yes! Because he knew exactly what it is that I would want for that. I got my own personal Gordon's alive from Brian Blessed. So, plastic Flash Gordon miniatures, Warlord, are they up for that?
I'm interested in Matt Capelli's comment a little further down. Can we get some instructions for the Ziz 3, please? I don't care if they're on a handkerchief. I don't care what they're on.
I want to move on from that. So can we get a new Ziz 3 model?
Yes. 100%. You play Soviets. Have you put one together?
Yeah, I put one together.
Okay. We don't need to say anymore. That's that one over.
Yeah.
It's just terrible.
So it's something that keeps coming up. I don't actually know where the process is on it. I'd like a full diagram collection when it comes to the instructions, especially for the artillery, because a lot of them are a pain in the butt. because that's one that on customer service we do get a lot of tickets for that. Not just that gun. There's a lot of offenders, but
right.
Yeah. So yeah, don't know where that is, but it's one that we're looking into. I wouldn't mind doing videos on it, to be honest. I think that would be a good call. Just have a playlist on the back of the Warlord channel. But yeah, we'd have to find time to do it. So don't know when. Hopefully, because I feel that one.
I have to say, if you've not looked at them, Flames of War are very, very good at that. When they produce a new mod, a lot of their kits, their instructions are just exploded diagrams on the back of the box. But on their website, there's a step by step with photographs. Do this, do this, do this, do this. Like literally each piece that you glue on, and they generally make a video.
Okay.
As well, yeah, they have in many ways. Though the problem with the Flames of War website is it's so vast, and there are several articles. You try and search for Sherman, search M4 Sherman, and you've got 20 pages of web pages. You can't, and even M4 Sherman assembly. They've got old resin ones. They've got Sherman 5s, Sherman 2s. What you're looking for probably isn't easy to find.
You'll find a book from 2009 when they first released it, and they're doing an article on it and all that stuff as well. Yeah.
It's all in there. But they are very comprehensive. What I've tended to find for anyone that does use the Flames of War website and that stuff is don't search using their website. Search on Google and use the product number. They're like UBX171, and that will take you to the relevant page on their website as the top answer from Google. Okay. I'd be glad for a crayon drawing and a napkin. Matt's talking about that history. Yeah, it was a nightmare. There's probably no two that look the same. It just felt like there were pieces missing, and that's before the metal cannon in general. Right? If the barrel's more than an inch long, soft metal is just not the method.
Yeah.
It's not like that. Wow, bing.
The one on the website. If you look at the one on the website, you can actually see like giant blobs of super glue under the paint. Where we tried to put the example model for the website together, had to just like splurge some glue in and get it to go. So,
alternative built mine.
So Russian Quill's got alternative headsets for uncommon Napoleonic countries. You do a range of alternative heads for World War II, I think, but I don't know whether you do it in other theaters and
so a lot of them have actually been taken off the range recently.
Right.
Yeah, we tried to do a bit of a range shrinkage. So on customer service, we can usually get them through as a special, but they're not on like general sale, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I don't know if it's something we'll be looking at going forward. Because I know the black powder range, it's not had any like love specifically for a while. So I wouldn't be surprised if something came up where more stuff comes out. Probably not this year, but maybe next year it comes about a bit more in the focus. But like alternative heads, like I'm working on the Vistula Legion at the moment. They're a head swap on an existing kit. So stuff like that, possibly pre-boxes and things like that, definitely possibly see it. But I really don't know if that's on the cards yet. And obviously with Epic Battles coming out a couple months ago, anything small scale or mass battles, possibly thinking about doing it in that in future.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of us saw the American Civil War Epic Battles and thought, I want to see when that comes out in Napoleonic, so I want to see that come out in Ancients. I've fallen foul of that actually, because about 2 years ago at Salute we picked up some 12mm Callistra, and I'd just about finished painting up the first division of each side. And then that comes out and it's like, that looks so much easier to paint. They're just all on a strip in a line. I was like individually gluing metal models to a base individually, loads of flashing to do because it's metal cast. They're nice models, but unfortunately they don't look anything like the shoulder to shoulder black, Warlord ones. I couldn't.
Yeah, I've seen some people using like the cavalry from Callistra. I think Percy Pig. I might be getting the name wrong, but I think it's Percy Pig. Peter Pig, sorry, yes. I believe Percy Pig, Marks and Spencer's.
Percy Pig and Marks and Spencer's sweet. They're very nice, but they don't do miniatures.
So all those, I wasn't familiar with any of them because I basically only do 28mm and a couple. Like I do Blood Red Skies, but usually I'm a 28mm. And suddenly all these 15mm companies I had to get very familiar with because my inbox was just inundated with well, will they work with this? Does it work with this? What's the scale? I don't know.
Yeah. So are you able to say whether there's anything else in the I mean, you're still working through the American Civil War range, aren't you? You're still releasing.
Yes, so Wave 2's coming out in a couple weeks, and Wave 3's coming out the month after, maybe a little bit further on, with like the wagons, and I think the skirmishes are in that wave, and a few other things. So nothing specific, unfortunately, for the epic battles, but because obviously, again, it's one of those ones that we didn't call it 15mm American Civil War. I think it's a move towards a new range, so I wouldn't be surprised that what I was saying a couple months ago, if it sells well, we might well do some more. Now it's sold well, so we're probably going to do some more. And a big part of it is the sprues are obviously the same between the two factions. Anything where we can replicate that, again, it keeps the costs down. That's something that we can use to make these ranges big, affordable, and keep it cheap for the consumer. So see, if you're doing that in Napoleonic, there might be ways around it, but if you did a sprue for every nation, here's the Prussian, here's the French, here's the British, suddenly the cost's going to rise accordingly. So again, we might be able to do it with get multiple people on one. So things that I've heard mooted inside the company, this is mostly just me and my colleagues spitballing, not, high up end meetings, but things like the Civil Wars or 30 Years War on the continent, that's all guys with muskets and guys with pikes that looked pretty similar. That kind of thing's possible. I've mentioned the Hellenistic Wars. It's guys with pikes or guys with spears and shields and a couple skirmishes and some cav. Stuff like that, I think, something more we could see. And then maybe long down the road, we'll do Waterloo. But again, no confirmations. But that would be what I'd expect.
Cool. Tony Halton says, "Is it safe to watch no ship abuse tonight?" You've not got any Victory at Sea ships there, have you, John?
No, sir. They were all confiscated.
If you've only just arrived, we are giving away a British Warlord bolt action sprue. This came out this week. You need to say plastic fins in the comments if you want entering into tonight's draw. Nice tip as flames.
Was that the Portland you just wafted in front of the camera there, Max?
Yes, good eye. Wow.
A complete one, looks like.
If no one remembers, that's an intact one. You won't see one on our channel.
Is that the splitter?
That's Portland is down,
that was the
man.
one that went,
So we've got a game of Victory at Seas on, I think, May the 3rd. Me and one of my colleagues are playing a game on the stream. So I'm currently building up all my Americans. I've got the whole Battle for the Pacific starter set painted now, and I'm starting to work on the American Star Fleet as well. So I think I'm going to try and get some aircraft carriers involved, because something a little bit different from what we've already had on the stream, because we did a game a couple months ago. I've just set up my airbrush. We had a game a couple months ago, but that was all just cruisers and some destroyers. We want to get some bigger ships and some aircraft carriers.
Nice.
Nice.
Good,
if you want to have an aircraft carrier that you get to use throughout the whole war, get the Enterprise. I think she's in pretty much every major action.
Huh.
Whereas a lot of the others that they don't make it. The ones from the early war anyway. Matt Capelli says, "What are you talking about? My Zis3 can stay in cover and shoot around the corner." Nice.
Warlord bashes.
My Zis3 can dropped everything. My Zis3 can stay in cover as well, because the base is made out of cover.
Yes, the tactical sandbags.
Exactly.
It's not just made out of cover; it's made out of hard cover, James. It is
made out of hard cover.
Made out of -2 cover. 30 Years War would be epic. Yeah. Any jobs for JP and stress testing the figures?
I'll do that.
So for anyone that has watched them or that hasn't, we've been experimenting with the shorts format of videos. The maximum 1 minute. They have to be landscape. It's a new thing that YouTube is trying to push. Be really grateful for any feedback on any of the ones. Obviously we've recut like very, very funny things that have happened in old videos where I remember them. I've cut them out and made videos. But we tried some 1 minute reviews with some Victrix stuff. we're just experimenting with the format, and we'd really like to know how you feel about them, to be honest. Whether it's worth us doing more of that kind of work.
That's what all the cool kids are doing. So, you know, it would be
Real
nice.
right now.
I think all the cool kids stream on Twitch, don't they? And do photographs of themselves on Instagram or something.
And ask you to go look at their TikTok. Who knows anymore?
I mean,
Warlord Games TikTok coming next week.
Oh, sweet.
Mate, I'm just registering us for an OnlyFans account. We're going to get Johnny that sequin leotard. So Craig, Mark. So the other game that I'd like to talk about, if we may, is about SPQR.
Yes.
So
we can talk about it positively now.
Yeah. Well, we are not bruised by the first edition. We missed it. Just as we were going into lockdown, I was trying to get hold of. I'd seen it as a small skirmish game. I'd seen the price of the box. Thought, oh, we definitely want to give this a go. But no one had a copy. And then when I did a bit of investigation and watched some videos, like, right, yeah, this is being redone. And you were just about to re-release it pre-lockdown, weren't you? And then it just kind of got put back a little bit, I think.
I don't think so, because I remember there was, I can't remember, the timeline's a little bit wobbly, but I think it was always supposed to come out after Victory at Sea. And Victory was originally supposed to be May 2020. I mean, it got pushed back to all the way to September because that was first lockdown where we had no idea what was going on for a couple of weeks there. So SPQR, you got a lot of negative feedback. There's no sugarcoating that one. And there were some problems with it. So I think what I liked about the process with the SPQR feedback was we took a lot of it on board. I remember seeing the play testing. There was quite a lot of it that was happening in the Warlord store and around the HQ. And it basically got from the ground up. Biggest thing was the points got changed, I think. There was a couple special rules that needed tweaking, but I think a lot of the core rules were basically already there. The point structure around them didn't balance right. So that was kind of the first point. So I think a stark example of that is a legionary has stayed at 24 points. I believe their upgrades cost the same. So you won't need to massively change a legionary army. Whereas your Roman Auxilia went from 7 points to 18. So there's your kind of second rate, they're not your absolutely, rubbish Celts who are just wearing, holding a sword and wearing their trousers kind of thing. That's actually quite a good unit, and that used to cost 7 points per man relative to 24 for a legionary. Now that's kind of really narrowed in. So I think a Gaul warrior, again, 14, 17 points, depending on how you arm them. There's a couple other things where armor's really come back into the fore. The last game, the meta was quite heavily skewed towards big blobs of cheap infantry. Now it's kind of shifting back to there is definitely a place for chainmail. When I played my first game, my force is purely Roman auxiliaries. I refused to use legionaries. Just I wanted to do something different, really. And yeah, they were completely valid on the tabletop. I actually won the game against a massively numerically superior Britain force. So yeah, I think the whole thing flows a lot better, and it's nice to see because that community, there was a lot of negativity on things like the Facebooks and stuff. So it's nice to see that a lot of that has turned around, and now there's new people joining the game, and some of the people who had forces are reacting positively to the new edition. And hopefully soon more people will actually be able to get games in with it as well.
I mean,
yeah, that would be ideal.
So John and I played a shonky game, looking at the camera and moving them around. On my first response to the game was it missions were going to be extremely important. In the tester game that we played, there was nothing that stopped all of the units just fighting for a result. And actually, the game is not at its best when you've just got a big blob and a million dice being thrown until everybody dies. You really needed things to force units to move around the table a little bit and break some of those fights up. But I think that's the case with a lot of skirmish games, though. It's not an interesting game if you just all run into the middle and roll dice until somebody wins. You need something that forces the units to move in less tactically sensible ways to score objectives. So doing that, we looked at that and we thought okay, so we need to just make sure we have a scenario where you can't just all blob in the middle, and we'll try another game. But it seemed a lot fairer than what we'd seen examples of in the previous version. And you did a thing where if people bought a box of dudes, they got a free copy of the rules.
Yes, so we basically recognized that it was, you know, super close to the original release. So we wanted to make sure that people still had the opportunity to get the rules.
Oh, that was a good initiative there by the company, I think.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's good, and it's good for a company to kind of acknowledge, okay, we got this wrong, and this is what we're going to try and do to put it right. You know, I think, and because there's, I suppose, to look at it from the perspective of the company, when something like that does happen and you have a slightly shaky release, there's an issue with the rules. The company's invested the money in it.
Yeah.
And then if they release a supplement within 6 months that fixes it and people have to pay for it, people complain about that too.
Yeah.
So what is the right decision for a company? So really, we want you to fix the game, right? So
And
I think under the circumstances, I feel that they handled that quite well.
thank you.
Yeah.
True fact.
My wife and I play SPQR so we can throw javelins at each other legally. Lol. Okay. The other thing we noticed about the SPQR, and we haven't played the campaign yet, but we intend to, is that it's got a system to stop snowballing.
Yes.
Which is the problem I always have with campaigns is what you want in a campaign is to progress and for your force to get better and to improve. The problem with that is in game 1 the better player wins, and then in game 2 the better player wins by even more, and it's just no. You need the game to be a game in each case. You want to feel that your warband has grown, but it seems that the system is that that you basically get free points to spend on mercenaries if you're the smaller warband, and that freedom to choose mercenaries is actually really powerful.
Do you know what it reminds me of?
Tailor your list to who you're actually going to fight against.
It reminds me of it shows I've been playing a lot of this lately. It reminds me of old Blood Bowl, where you get
yeah, definitely.
your journeyman. Yeah, it's that that idea that you might be losing, but oh, cool, you get to bring a wizard now and you get to drop a fireball. Not that, of course, but you get advantages even if it's thing. I mean, you get a chance to bring it back. Like, it's such a hero-focused game. You know, you might not be able to keep that unit of slingers you hired, but if they mean that your hero was able to get a level up and now he's not so worried about his smashed leg or whatever was ailing him before, suddenly you're on a level pegging and the campaign kind of writes itself to its conclusion. Until they die.
I think it's cool that it offers up a few additional modelling prospects as well on top of your standard army. Like as a Roman with the legionaries, I can get all the other goblins as well, get myself some Celts, which is awesome. So that's a sneaky way of getting us to buy extra bits. Sneaky.
Yeah. I'd like to say that it was planned. We know what we're doing. Yeah.
Like you planned it.
Sorry, James, you were going to say something?
Yeah, there's no cavalry in Mortal Gods, and I get to play my Athenians in SPQR as well, and now I get to have cavalry, so I'm going to paint me some horses, something I haven't done in years.
Oh, I hate painting horses. I really do. I'm quite a fussy painter. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. That doesn't mean I'm very good, but I like to do it right. When it came to the horses, I was like, no, we're buying Citadel contrast, and we're just slapping the contrast on them, so that's my work in progress. Yeah, but before I hated it so much. I was like, cool, workshop sells something that allows you to do one coat and done. Splat, paint some splodges on their hinds and on their faces, call it a day.
So, can you tell me when that new spray paint's coming out?
If I remember correctly, it was 2069 on the website. And we did sell out on the pre-order very early. The man we swapped the magic beans for only had a very limited supply.
Boo! That could have saved me a lot of effort.
Haven't caught it, guys. In approximately 5 minutes' time, we're going to be doing the draw for a bolt action new British infantry and Canadian sprue, where you can get yourself some beautiful Scotch bonnet-headed dudes. among other things. No pigeon on this sprue, unfortunately. You have to get the USF. No. We've got a few entries. If you want to be entered into the draw, then you need to say plastic fins. It wasn't tartan paintbrush, well, it was spray can, completely painted eyes, everything. Like,
oh, I don't know who paints eyes, even with a spray. I'm lazy on that front.
Yeah. So that's SPQR, that's bolt action, that's cruel seas. I kind of talked about most of the major stuff. I suppose if we go back then, let's get, because we've got about 15 minutes left. You said that you were talking to Alessio, and one of the things to talk about was the things that people would want to see in or changed in bolt action. So one of the things that I'd like to see changed in bolt action is, well, I'll let other people talk first. John, what would you like to see changed in bolt action?
You need to stop being able to win.
Kind of -1 hit.
Yeah. A player ban list. Yeah.
We'll make sure we get it printed in the next errata. These people are outlawed. You get free reroll against these guys.
I haven't got anything that I really want. Oh, my universal carriers need to remove the transport keyword so that I can use it as an assault vehicle.
That one actually came up in the stream, because I'm a big Hanomag fan. When I play my Africa Corps, I take 3 in like in 1,000-point list on average. And apparently it was based off V1. A lot of people were just using them as, fire and forget missiles, cover blocking, and apparently it was one of those things where it didn't feel right for the game. So this was a fix. Because that was actually one that I brought up. That wasn't even in the comments or in the Twitch stream. I was like, no, Alessio, I've got beef. Why do my Hanomags keep dying? They got machine guns and they're armored. I don't care if there's a dude next to them. But I think basically it's kind of like Fisher Fury from Warhammer 40k. There was a thing. Let's get rid of that, because people are kind of exploiting a transporter unit.
Exactly right. And they were using the cheapest ones. They were just using soft top trucks, spamming that and using those. And I jest. I'm cool with that. It's just
about bolt action. It's people putting pintle mounted machine guns on trucks. It's just like, no.
Yeah.
No. The transport rule isn't fixing this. That truck is an expensive commodity, and it isn't going anywhere near a fight. I utterly, I'm not saying it never happened, but it is just not intended to be used in that role at all. Whereas for the half tracks, if there's a half track rule that I feel is missing, German infantry manuals from 1942 or 43 encourage the Panzer Grenadiers to stay embarked.
Well, and use it like as a mobile firing base kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. The idea is that certainly in the German army, these vehicles are about mobility. I don't necessarily mean in direct assault, but it's if you're not moving as a Panzer Grenadier, then you're not doing it right, because there's infantry to do the other stuff.
I actually quite like that one. I could see that as being like one of the supplementary national characteristics. It wouldn't be like the main one necessarily, but if a unit embarked in a transport stationary on a fire order, they can still fire the weapons, something like that. I don't know. I'm not a rules writer, but I actually quite like that one.
One of the first games me and the Kaiser played, obviously he's got a very, he's invested into the history of it all, hence that comment just there rather than the rules. And he was most confused when he rolled up his Hanomag. He was like, the dude's going to shoot out the top now. I'm like, you can't actually do that. Like, what are you on about? What? That's exactly what they did. So that was quite interesting to see the conflict between historian versus wargamer.
And it's a rule system, because you have to kind of abstract these things on some level. Is a universal carrier and and an American half track and a Hanomag. They're very different vehicles.
Yeah,
people tend to treat a universal carrier as an infantry fighting vehicle, and it's just like a universal, flexible. But it's a motorbike that can carry a bit of weight. It's not.
Yeah,
there's thousands of them, but they're not really. They're not assault vehicles. They're just like, if you need something that can get in low and can get in fast and can do a job, we've got loads of these. That's what
they need. 6 petrol cans 400 meters away. I'll get them there. It's not for combat.
Yeah, well, it might be. Can you just whip round there and take a shot with that PR? It might be that, but they're not. But it's more about having a tactical flexibility, isn't it? It's rather than...
Well, that and crossing the no man's land before the proper battle, where you're in the artillery zone. The truck might get shredded, but unless it's a direct hit, the Hanomag's going to go, cool, keep on trucking, let's get to the front. Whereas, again, the universal carrier was almost its own beast because that was practically a battle taxi.
Meep, meep.
Absolutely. Love the campaign book. So many ideas from them. I had rumblings about MGs, but my concern would be making them too powerful. I actually think the problem with the MGs, I see the problem is from the other end. I don't think that a 5 or 6 dice machine gun, depending whether you're German or not, for 50 points, because of the range on a 4, your table is 4 foot deep. They've got quite a lot of firepower projection. The issue is how vulnerable they are. A single HE hit is going to take them out because it's going to kill all of the crew members because they have to be within that distance. And a sniper just takes out the weapon if it hits and kills. I don't think they need more firepower. I think they need more survivability, in my opinion.
I think Max should do a hard sell on his Monday musings with Alessio, because a lot of these topics were covered. So if you haven't already seen him and Alessio having a good old chit chat, maybe you should go and have a look. See, it's quite a fun little watch. So you should do that, people.
James, if you were wish listing bolt action updates, what would you be looking for?
There's a little bit of an unevenness about some of the units, and it makes me feel a bit weird about taking them. So I like the idea of like some tank riding armored assault Russians with flamethrowers, but I feel really odd about taking that because I know that that's a cheesy unit. But like, these were people who died in their droves, and it wouldn't happen in the game.
Yeah.
So I feel a bit odd about flamethrowers. I actually feel a bit odd about mortars because I've always seen them do good things, and I feel odd about not taking one and odd about taking one.
Mortars are 50-50 for me. I flip-flop on those every other week.
Right.
Because sometimes, like, it's stops and starts. Sometimes they just work for me. They're just constantly hitting. These are great 50-point, 2-inch HE, bang, bang, bang. And sometimes I go on a bad run with them. I'm like, these things are useless. I'm never taking one again. So I've actually started to move more towards light artillery options, just because 50 points do that, direct fire. The indirect I'm not too worried about. So it's I know what you mean with that one. And flamethrowers are really hard. They need to be brutal because historically, if they got in range, they were brutal. But in the scale that bolt actions played, it's almost like if they work, they're guaranteed to take out big old chunk of an army, which is it's hard to balance, like making it feel right, I think.
Well,
but I know what you mean.
I think the difference is that most other armies could take 1, whereas I could probably fit 4 if I tried with the Soviets. There's just like ways to slot them in here and there.
Yeah.
And when I'm doing something like that, I have a tendency to push it. So that would be where I'd go with it, and I just can't.
What's quite interesting is there's nothing in the rules that say that you can't use these. They are there. They are available. Flamethrowers are very dangerous. Tank riders are very tough. And I think a lot of people fall into that slot of, well, they're the best unit. Why wouldn't I take them? And I would say have some fun. Kaiser's taught me a lot about some of the historical actions and bits and bobs. And some of the best games I've had have been completely nothing to do with points, but more about what happened, like the breakout, the Falais pocket, and all that. And unbalanced forces has been great, and not having flamethrowers and not having all the big thing, do it like that. It's a completely different experience, and it's well worth looking into, guys, if you haven't already.
I think as John's saying, I think there's an issue. Balancing a point system is always going to be difficult. If a game has been around long enough, it's going to have an increasingly wide range of equipment and availability, and people want those things. They want rules but US Marines use shotguns in Samoa, and you're like, yeah, they did. Okay, well, we'll create a rule for it. But if it turns out that ends up being a really powerful weapon system, it's actually going to cause a problem for our game.
Or in the case of the US Marines, completely useless weapon system.
Yeah, but
the 3-point debuff.
So, but a big one for that is the Flamers' performance in relation to its cost on the scale of the game is played. And dudes just don't hump flamethrowers around the battlefield because they're death traps. It's like the flamer is like, I need a flamethrower to deal with this problem that is 50 yards away, so I'm going to be issued with it to do that.
And then I'm going to throw the thing away.
Johnny B starts from a rules point. Johnny B will start from a rules point and work forwards from there, quite like to some extent, because you know the rules. I don't know the rules that well, but I really love sexy assault engineers. So I started with like, I'd love to do this thing, and then I spoke to Kaiser about it, and I was like, I'm planning this force, and he was like, that's broken.
That's cheese, right? Yeah, no.
I hadn't even looked yet. I have barely played a game, and I'm like, okay, well, then there's something I can't do now.
You are exempt from the cheesy thing, so that's why you feel torn. It's like I want to do this right, but then you get told. That's fair. But we know that's not true, James. As a connoisseur of Forge World and seal clubbing, we know that
James is a pro seal clubber as a gamer. So I just we're gonna get to the draw. And we're gonna have to finish in a minute. I just want to say, because John mentioned about the narrative thing. I have increasingly moved to the. All of these things are going to be in these systems, and you can put a Katusha on the table, and you can have a Tiger tank, and you can have, and all of these things are potentially horrendously unbalanced because it's difficult to set an abstract points level and see how that might permutate through on different missions and different scenarios. And I don't think it's wrong that a rule system has got rules for you having a flak battery of 88mm guns on the table. And just in my opinion, that should be the objective. The reason you need rules for a Tiger is because you've got we need to deal with this Tiger is the mission, or where to demolish this flak battery is the mission. My issue is that people putting them in generic lists, and actually, if you move away from just list building in terms of what's good for my points and move to a system where you're going to play a game in a week or two with another person, we increasingly discuss the lists we're going to bring with a view to building a scenario. And John and I play bolt action. He brings his army, mine's here, and we say, well, we're going to do a convoy ambush now, and we start putting models out and try and balance the forces, but based upon models that we have, not having too many units so that the game takes forever, but based upon what's credible. Saying, well, if there's going to be a unit over here, it needs to have been mobile or whatever. And it's hard to do that when you're first starting, but I think if you start to play like that a little bit more and work on your lists together, not to list build to tailor against, but to tailor towards, to tailor to what will be a good game. So James really wants to bring all those flamethrowers as tank riders with body armor, and said, well, we need to think of a scenario where that's going to make sense.
Yes.
They're also expensive as hell. So
making the two connect.
That's
by all means, use these units, but let's look at a period and time. Like you were saying with flamethrowers, the only time I'd ever use a flamethrower is if there's a bunker on the board, and that will be the mission objective, stuff like that. But as the great mythos says, from Frost and Fists, you do you, right? So that's we're not downplaying the other casual player, the competitive player. That's all a big thing, and that's cool. It's just again.
Okay, very, very last chance in 1 minute's time. I am going to draw this. If you want to win the bolt action sprue for the new British infantry, you need to say plastic fins in the comments. Drawing in 1 minute. Last chance.
Last chance.
So just while they do that, then Max, do you just want to remind the beautiful people at home where can they find you? What your stream and so forth? Give them some words of wisdom.
So I'm that was Max from Warlord Games customer service. You can watch me every Monday at 6 p.m. on the Warlord Games official Twitch. You can also contact us at info@Warlord Games or on the phone line if you ever need to talk to a Warlord Games representative. We're open 9 till 9 every weekday. And if I can do a little bit of a plug, next week on Monday, so I believe that's the 26th, we have the author of Black Seas on. We've got Gabriel coming on. We're going to talk to him about his takes on game design and particularly his takes on naval games design. He's done a lot of work on that. He was Cruel Seas. He was on Black Seas. I don't think he's worked on Victory at Seas, but the guy knows his stuff. I think he also used to work on Apocalypse for Games Workshop as well. So that's going to be an interesting one.
Awesome. His onions. So that's oh, look, everybody's just saying it in the last minute.
Oh, of course they are. One final question whilst the Kaiser puts those few extra names down. You were just on the big screen there, Max. So one final question. Are those Pokemon yours?
Some.
Some. Right. Which ones?
The Vulpix, the Snivy are mine. Kirby's not a Pokemon, but I definitely own Kirby.
Oh, there's a Kirby.
There's a Kirby. Yeah, big Kirby fan. I'm a massive Nintendo fan. Awesome. I really am. And the Eevee is my housemates.
Sweet. And that was it. Hopefully the Kaiser has finished writing names and coughing.
It's funny, normally I'd have the camera slightly further this way and everyone can see my LARP weapons, but normally asking about that instead. But today we got the other thing, yeah.
What system? Where do you play?
I'm Empire. I play the Marchers. We do basically War of the Roses, but it's fantasy. It's very good.
That sounds awesome.
Okay, here we go. You can see them. I can't. Names are in there. Here we go. Here we go. And the winner is Drunken FX.
There we go.
You are tonight's winner of the new 1943 to 45 late war British and Canadian infantry sprue. Go to our website, modelingforadvantage.co.uk. There's a contact us thing there and provide us with your name and postal address, mother's maiden name, PIN name, sort code, all that kind of stuff, so that we can recover any funds it may cost. No, just name, postal address, mate. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the show. I got 0 painting done as I expected. Whenever we do a draw, I do nothing other than the comments. Jay Bizzle, where'd you get up to?
Jay Bizzle has pretty much completed your
Can we look at it big? Look at that.
What if I put that behind it? Does it help? Not really.
Stripy pants though, mate. Look at that.
Stripy pants. Yes. It's got checked what's it. It's still out of focus, but yeah, it's got stuff. I need to do eyeballs, and a few bits and bobs, and then
to do his balls.
Yes, balls.
Mr. James Workshop.
I have painted a number of. They're not great coats; they're just pretty average coats.
Coats.
And finally, Max, did you get?
I've been working on 4 whole Vistula Legion. Which way do I want to go?
Vistula Legion.
There we go. So they look roughly like that.
Oh, nice.
I can't see. Are they wearing those crazy Polish hats, the Zapka?
These ones aren't. That's for the Grenadiers. Those are just wearing boring shakos. I would, if I can do one last plug, I'll be posting pictures of them on my Facebook blog. That's Max Asen Wargaming on Facebook. So if you want to check that out, there will be close-ups of them and all my other work. Lots of Frostgrave at the moment.
Frostgrave. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the show. That's us from this week. We will be back next week. We have got a poll on the YouTube channel about the time of the show. Timing is always difficult to get exactly right. That works for everyone. The question is, are you happy with it where it is, or would you prefer to see it a little bit earlier? No promises. We're just asking your opinions. On Friday, we have an unboxing of the new version of the British Bolt Action Starter Army. It's already recorded. I just got to put it together. All right, folks.
Awesome.
Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.